You know the feeling. You wake up and something is already heavy. Not the day, not the task list, just you. The kind of morning where the silence in your room feels louder than your thoughts. You scroll, you stare, you wait for motivation to arrive like a train that never comes. And then you feel it. That familiar pinch in your chest, the one that whispers, you're falling behind again. It starts small. A text you don't reply to, a decision you push to tomorrow, a goal you look at but don't touch. You tell yourself it's just a bad day. Everyone has them. But then the bad day stretches into the evening, and the evening folds into a restless night, and you wake up still carrying yesterday's weight. You try to outrun it. You open 5 tabs of inspiration. You watch someone on a screen tell you how to fix your life in 12 minutes. You bookmark, you save, you promise yourself tomorrow. But tomorrow comes, and the weight is still there. Because the problem isn't that you're lazy. The problem isn't that you lack discipline. The problem is that you keep waiting for the bad days to pass instead of asking what they're trying to tell you. Here's what no one tells you about the worst days. They're not interruptions to your growth. They are the growth. You just can't feel it yet, because growth doesn't feel like rising. It feels like cracking. It feels like the ground beneath you giving way. It feels like everything you thought you knew about yourself suddenly reads like a lie. You wanted to change, but you wanted it to feel like an upgrade, smooth, seamless, Instagrammable. You wanted to wake up one day and simply be the new you. But that's not how it works. You don't grow on the days you feel powerful. You grow on the days you feel powerless. Because powerlessness strips away the performance. It forces you to sit in the raw, unedited version of yourself. The version that has no filters, no goals, no 5-year plan. Just presence. And presence is where everything real begins. Think about it. Every version of you that actually survived something, they weren't born on a good day. They were forged in the ones you'd rather forget. The breakup that undid you, the failure that embarrassed you, the silence after you lost something you couldn't get back. Those days didn't feel like progress. They felt like punishment. But they were the only times you ever really changed, because comfort has never transformed anyone. Comfort just preserves. It keeps you in the same room, reading the same book, believing the same story about who you are. The worst days, they burn the room down. And at first, all you feel is the smoke. But eventually you realize you're not standing in the ashes. You're standing on new ground. The problem is, you've been taught to measure growth by how good you feel. So when you feel terrible, you assume you're going backward. But what if the bad days aren't a detour? What if they're the only road? What if the person you're trying to become doesn't exist in your good moments? What if they only exist on the other side of everything you're avoiding right now? This is where most people stop reading, because this is where it gets uncomfortable. Not because the idea is complicated, but because acting on it means admitting something. You've been using the bad days as an excuse to stay small. You tell yourself you'll start when you feel better. You tell yourself you'll show up when the weight lifts. But the weight isn't going to lift itself. It's waiting for you to move through it. Discipline isn't what you do on the good days. Discipline is what you do on the worst days, when your brain is foggy, when your body is tired, when your heart feels like it's wrapped in barbed wire. That's when discipline becomes more than a habit. It becomes a statement, a declaration that you are not at the mercy of your mood, that you are not a leaf in the wind, that even when everything inside you wants to fold, you choose to stay upright. Not because you're strong, but because you finally understood. The worst days are not your enemy. They are your training ground. And here's the quiet truth they don't put on posters. You don't become disciplined to feel good. You become disciplined to feel free. free from the tyranny of your own emotions, free from the endless negotiation with yourself, free from the exhaustion of deciding every single morning whether you'll try again or give up. When you move on the bad days, something shifts. You stop waiting for motivation. You stop bargaining with your potential. You stop treating your life like a problem to be solved, and you start living it like a fact. The person you want to be, they're not somewhere in the future waiting for you to arrive. They're here, right now, in this uncomfortable, unmotivated, heavy moment. They're the one who moves anyway, not because it feels good, but because they know something you're only beginning to suspect. The worst days aren't obstacles to your becoming. They are your becoming. So here's the question that won't leave you alone. What if today, this heavy, stuck, exhausting day, is exactly where you're supposed to grow? What if the weight you're carrying isn't a burden, but a door? And the only question left is, will you walk through, or will you wait for a better day that never comes?